Aww.
All right, go ahead, kick it out.
Okay, hello, my name is Isabella Hansen, and this is my mom.
I'm Jenny.
And we are a mother and daughter duo who suffer from mental illness.
We do. I have, fun times. I live daily with depression and anxiety, and probably have really my whole life, but wasn't officially diagnosed till I was older, in my mid-30s.
I have, let's go down a long list right now.
Go for it.
A mood disorder that...
Generalized mood disorder.
Generalized mood disorder, probably more leaning towards bipolar disorder. Depression, anxiety, OCD, and ADHD. And we've been figuring it all out since I was 6.
Well, it's been a journey, and I think why we talked about doing this is because at times it can feel like a lonely journey for the parents and for the person who's living with mental health diagnoses. And so as we've talked about different things and wanting to be advocates and wanting to erase some of the stigma of mental health issues, we decided to do this.
Okay, so let's get started.
Okay, so my parenting perspective is we do joke, we joke and we're very sarcastic. So we talk about how for the first couple of years of her life, Belle was really the perfect kid.
That quickly changed.
No. But she was ahead in milestones. Listening behavior was just incredible for a 1 and 2-year-old. It was just a very easy life, so to say. And then when Belle was 3, there was this light switch. I always talk about this light switch, and I can remember the exact day it happened. It was an August day, and where the light switch happened was this night she just looked at me and didn't want to go to bed. And it was so abnormal. It actually was a really, really bad night. My parents Grandma and Grandpa actually came and took you because it was such a shock.
All-nighter since I was 3.
So anyway, I really can, just define that was the moment where just certain things started to catch me, and I went, I had a very dear friend whose son had been diagnosed with ADHD, and Belle and this kid really had some parallels just in them, and we really wanted to be proactive with anything like. So we actually went and saw a therapist when Belle was really young, and I left the office in tears. It was a horrible experience. The guy pretty much it laughed me out of the room.
He called you crazy.
Yeah, he pretty much said I was crazy. So anyway, that began a journey of just kind of feeling lost as a parent at times. Belle was so intelligent, so smart. And then there were these moments where I would just look at her and go, what are you doing? As far as her behavior in particular, around other people, socially, it was like having 2 different kids at times. And when she went to kindergarten, really started to notice a shift in her mood. This just was not the kid we were used to. She was moody, unhappy. And it was towards the end of 1st grade that there was a night I was putting Belle to bed, and she would have been 7, and she was talking about not wanting to go to school the next day, and made the comment to me that she just wished she could go up to heaven and stay there. And that scared the living daylights out of me as a parent. And I called my husband, who was traveling, and he said, have her stay home tomorrow, and I'm gonna get home from traveling.
I remember this.
Yep. And then let's figure this out. There is something more going on there. And that really began the official journey, I would say official of parenting a child with depression.
I think, what was it? When did we move to Minnesota? Because we lived in North Dakota and then we moved to Minnesota.
We moved to Minnesota, we lived in Minnesota, northern Minnesota. And then we moved to the Twin Cities a year after this moment happened.
So I was 8 and we moved, which was probably really hard for me. I think that really kind of set things in which, like, it's not anyone's fault.
I think it brought to the surface what was there and what was going to eventually come out. I think when you have depression, when you have anxiety, if it's underneath the surface, something will bring it out eventually. And our move brought it out. If it hadn't happened then, it was going to happen at some point.
I mean, I remember crying a lot every night. That was a big thing. And then we went to therapy. I think her name was Carrie.
Yep,
She was amazing. I loved her so much. So that's when I got my first medication, which is do you remember what it's called?
No.
I think it's fluoxetine.
Fluoxetine, yeah.
Fluoxetine, which helps with depression, anxiety, and at higher doses helps with OCD, which we haven't learned anything about yet. So we took that medication, and like things are going pretty well, I'd say. But I think like I don't know if I thought so. Okay, so maybe things weren't going so well.
No, it's not that they weren't going well. There's just a lot of challenges.
Yeah, and then we got the news that we were moving again. So it kind of stayed the same, you know, challenging for a while until we were going to move again. And that's when, for me, things started to go downhill real fast.
But you were excited to move.
I was excited to move.
So it's not necessarily that, I don't know if necessarily moving made it go downhill fast.
No, that's just...
Yeah.
So we moved to where we live now, which is New Jersey. And we entered a co-op, which I'm homeschooled. So that's like a place where kids who are homeschooled go to hang out with their friends, stuff like that. And I mean, I don't know if you know, but I was like severely depressed, like really, really bad, like before the move. Like I think I remember 2 weeks before the move, like I was writing my diary, like, oh, I hate life, you know, this and that. And so like going to Minnesota, it wasn't good. And I stopped, like, without my parents knowing, because I usually did my medicine by myself, because I'd been doing it for, like, what, almost two years?
And I've been doing it responsibly.
I've been doing it responsibly for 2 years, and, like, I just stopped.
Without our knowledge.
They didn't know. It's not their fault. I was like, they'd ask me, do you take your medicine? I'd say, yes, I take my medicine. I'd say,
remember you take your medicine? Yep, I took it.
Yeah. So I lied constantly. And at the time, I had some really good friends. I love you guys. So, they ended up finding out that I was suicidal. Like, I was how old? 10 or 11? 11 most of the time. They ended up finding out. And I can't remember if it was the boy, or a girl. I think this boy I knew brought it up to a girl because he was really concerned about me. And then the girl's mom brought it up to you.
Yep.
And, like, I think you came up to me, like, are you okay? You know, stuff like that.
Yeah.
I remember just brushing it off. And
yeah, you did.
Because I didn't think nothing of it. I thought, you know, oh, this girl's mom just told her I was sad. Like, she knows that already. And then you read my diary.
We did. How do you feel about that now?
I mean, I'm glad you read that part, but there were also some parts in it that were more personal, like about the boy I liked, and like...
Well, I think what's important to say is that some people might not agree with what we did, but when you have a child whose mental health you are monitoring and you are concerned, you make sure you know what's going on. And
like,
so
I thought, like, I was gonna, like, I didn't know how much more I was gonna live. I was like, I'm done with this.
Right.
Like, I thought maybe, you know, another year or so and then I'd be dead.
Right. And I will say that when I did read your diary, I brushed over anything that was like common teenage stuff. I didn't sit and read it in detail. I was looking for specific things.
Found quite a few.
So
I ended up throwing that diary away because I hated that diary after that. And I think they talked about it and they realized I was off my medicine. And so I think I cut myself off kind of in some ways from people after that, really.
Yeah.
I wasn't as close with my friends. Like, the one guy I was really close with, we weren't that close anymore. And a few of my other friends weren't close as much anymore. And we all ended up being closer later on once I kind of got back into it. But I think it was a summer. And I ended up trying out for the swim team. Like, at this point, we'd gone to therapists. And we tried our best to, but we found no one, but I was better.
Yeah.
I took my medicine, I was okay, you know, not feeling that bad anymore. But we ended up joining the swim team, which one of the biggest blessings and one of the worst things that's ever happened in my entire life. For the first year on my old swim team, I swam with some younger kids, and I ended up being moved up the next year. And, like, the first year swimming, I wasn't competitive. I was doing it for fun. And I think the next year I started realizing you're good at this. Like, I had a chance of going to the States, and I had a chance of
it.
going to Junior Olympics. And that's when everything switched and OCD came into play. For those who don't know, OCD is obsessive compulsive disorder, and isn't just a neat freak thing. That's what everyone thinks it is, and it annoys the crap out of me. It's commonly, a lot of it's obsessive thoughts.
Obsessive thinking.
So I started to get obsessed with being best in swim, and, you know, having the best times and stuff like that, and that tore so many people away from me. But that got really bad, like extremely bad, where like I would be so nervous that I couldn't even perform well. And we ended up talking to this one doctor who I had for only 2 months, I believe, and got on a medicine to help me with OCD.
That's right. But so this was her psychiatrist, which is a doctor who helps administer medication. And what was going on was Belle was not sleeping. Like, it was taking her till 2 to 3 o'clock in the morning to go to sleep.
Because I kept on having such obsessive thoughts.
Right. Her mind wouldn't shut off. Her mind was swirling with times, with what time you had to get for this cut and how much time you had to cut. And it was awful. I felt horrible for her. She was exhausted half the time.
It was like really bad. And I mean, the environment wasn't helping. Like, everything that was going on wasn't helping. And we got the medicine, like,
and she started this medication to help with the obsessive thinking and the sleep, and we saw changes instantly. It was remarkable, just that she could sleep. I mean, definitely it doesn't cure things, right? She still has to battle obsessive thinking, but it definitely took it down a notch, that it wasn't ruling her life.
By then I was 12. And we finished the swim season. I did really well. I was so happy about that. And at this point, I broke my finger, and I was getting surgery.
And you also, at that point, this is in May, you had been seeing a therapist for a little bit that I don't think it was the right fit for Belle, but what this therapist suggested to us was that we do a full round of neurological tests for Belle. And actually, this therapist said to us, I think she might have Asperger's. And I went, me too.
I have these things, I don't know, I think this had something to do with my tics. I get like,
well, there were a couple key markers she didn't fit the Asperger's description. But it was like, you know, if you had 12 things, she was like 9 of them strong, and then 3 of them completely not.
I ended up not getting diagnosed with autism. Yeah. You never know. I could still maybe have.
Right. Yeah. But what that did, though, when we did the neurological testing, is she finally got an official diagnosis of having ADHD, which she had been tested for ADD before, and always tested borderline. And I think the thing about Belle and raising Belle was that my husband Brian and I would always talk about that she could pull it together. And I don't want to say like pull it together and be normal, but she could go to...
No, I could completely do that.
Yeah, she could go to a classroom environment, to different things, and like pull it all together to fit what you're supposed to do. And then when she came home, it was like an explosion because it was so exhausting, I think, for her brain to do that. And so her ADHD really had very little to do with an academic impact, and more so is about impulsivity.
My foot shakes.
Yeah, you know, and just like impulsive behaviors. Sometimes like you might do something that might not be the safest idea.
I touched on the boiling water once.
Right, like she'd be like, see boiling water, and she'd be like, why not? You know, things like that are kind of about safety.
I remember like for people like wouldn't always know I had ADHD because of that, but if you've ever seen me at swim practice, I jump around a lot in the back of the pool. That's my way of getting energy out. And if I don't do that, I go crazy.
Yep.
But I remember we diagnosed the ADHD, and then I broke my finger, and I was getting surgery, and there was stuff going on at swim, and I decided to switch teams.
To have a fresh start.
Because it was not all me, of course, but I had a decent impact in You're tensed up. I had a decent impact. We don't want to upset anyone.
No. I think
I had a decent impact on, why people hated me in some ways.
I think you've been really good about taking accountability. That I think Belle realized that she alienated a lot of people, and that she just needed a fresh start. And she needed a clean slate with people who, Belle mentally was doing better, and especially with her obsessive behavior thinking, but couldn't seem to shake that reputation in some ways. And so it was just a decision for that and for training.
I switched to the new swim team, and it was amazing. I loved my coach so much. And, we went on 6 months really strong. No OCD problems, nothing really standing out too much. And this is almost a year has passed, and it's summer season. And at this point, I'm being switched between groups, so I'm moving to a new group. And I have kind of a brand new coach, and I was going to Junior Olympics, which I had a really big chance of placing. So placing for swim is the top 16 swimmers get to go to finals, which is an event where you can score points for your team and win the meet. And in my 100 back, I had a really good chance at placing. I was like 9th, 10th, something like that. And I remember being super nervous. And I went into the water, and I had my first ever panic attack while swimming.
In the water.
Yeah. And I've explained this to a few people. Everyone knows it happened, but they didn't know what it felt like. I was frozen. I was trying to swim, and I was like, I can't breathe. I can't move. I just felt like I was drowning. And I remember getting out of the water and just bawling my eyes out to my coaches, and they were like, go home. I wanted to go home, and so I went home. And then we got after that, because that was awful, so bad.
Sad, yeah.
I got my new therapist, who helped a lot. And swim season started again, so that was good. And it was my final year in my age category, which means I had the best chance of placing the top 16 again at our New Jersey YMCA states. I was feeling good, and I had the most amazing coach in the entire world. He's I'm gonna mention him because I just the most amazing person. My 2 head coaches really know, 3 head coaches know about my OCD and anxiety, and they're amazing because they know how to handle it. I think my coach would say don't obsess over that. You're fine. You're gonna do great. And he's probably the top 10 influential people in my life. And that's why everyone on my swim team, when you complain about him, that's why I always say, I don't understand. I love coach this person. So that's why I always do that, because that's the first time I've had a coach who knew how to handle my OCD and my anxiety and stuff, and was there for me. So that was amazing. And States comes around. This was around a month ago. Less than a month ago, a few weeks ago. And I have 2 events that I have a chance at placing in, my 200 back and my 100 back. And my 100 back, I'm close, for me in many ways, to a national cut, where we all know there's a chance I could get it. So my 200 back is first, and I go and swim that. And for the first time in almost 9 months, I had a panic attack while swimming. Just this awful feeling of I couldn't move, I couldn't breathe, I felt paralyzed.
You said you felt like a boulder in the water.
I felt like I couldn't move. And I was trying so hard, I was breathing so hard. And I got out of the pool, I brushed it off. I didn't cry until I saw my mom. My coaches were like, it's okay, don't worry, just breathe in. Coach Rob told me.
Coaches were great.
Coach told me to breathe in. Loved them so much, they're amazing. I exited, told my mom to set a timer for 5 minutes. That's how long I've got to cry, because I have my 1 back tomorrow, and that's my chance at final, and that's my chance at a nat cut. I had my 5 minutes, I went back in, and I hanged out with my friends, and we went to finals. Hung out, and went to finals. And so next morning was the 1 back. This is maybe the top 5 saddest moments of my entire life, and it's quite sad, because I battled so much, and this is my race where I was supposed to show everyone that, you want that moment where you feel like everything.
Redemption.
Redemption, I called it.
Yeah.
And I wanted redemption for everything that, this illness had taken on me, and I said, I'm not letting it hurt me anymore, and I went in and I swam, and I had a panic attack. And that's probably why we're doing this.
we had a lot of talks afterwards about, you know, Belle had I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I can swim anymore. So, you know, what I said to Belle is I said, this is like, we got to keep fighting. We got to keep pushing forward. And like your victories come in different ways, which is very easy for me to say when I'm an adult and everything.
I remember after the race, I had one more day at States and it was an okay day. And my favorite coach came up to me and he said, "You've had an amazing season." And I looked at him and I'm like, okay, you know, thanks. I wish it would have ended differently. And he said, "Well, victories come for you in different ways than others."
And though you had panic attacks,
I handled it okay.
Yeah, you were able to keep them a little bit more under control. So we talked about, you know, we were just talking about life in general, and you know, Belle has always been very open, I think, for a kid her age about her struggles with mental health.
I don't have the energy to hide it. I have to like worry about not having a panic attack in the water. I don't have the energy to be like, I don't have ODD, I don't have anything. I don't have the energy to hide it.
That is so funny because living with depression, anxiety can be exhausting some days, like exhausting. So that is so true. And then to try and hide it would be exhausting. And I think,
and that's one thing to say, if you're trying to hide your mental illness, don't. And I think this is what this is about, really, is that I want to be there for people who have mental illnesses. And to be honest, this is for my mental illness too. I'm doing this because I want to be someone's outlet, or I want to be able to connect to someone who also has a mental illness, because there's no reason to hide it. It may not be like, you know, the most amazing ability you have, but it's a pretty great one.
But we thought we could kind of give a kid-parent perspective as well. Also, just for parents out there, don't be afraid, like empower your kid, champion them. And, you know, one thing, Belle and I have really had some battles at times because I am very big on acknowledging her mental health diagnoses, but I refuse to let them be excuses as well, right? So we would at times get in battles because I would say, depression is not an excuse for being rude, or, you know, like there are different things, and really wanting her to be accountable and not wanting to be a victim. And we've had big battles over that. But I hope, and I think she'll appreciate it in the long run. And maybe, I don't know if at this point you can see any value in what I've been trying to do.
I see value.
You do?
Yes.
You do?
Yes.
Yes.
But I think I've been kept accountable.
Yeah, and I think that's really
I know,
important.
Like, there's a lot of kids who like will do that, and it's not going to get you anywhere, because when you're an adult, you're not going to know how to deal with it. And that's why I think it's so important for kids to start learning about and dealing with mental illness at a young age.
And I think it's about not judging too. You never know someone's story. Mental health issues are an invisible chronic illness. You're not wearing a cast. You don't see scars physically often and whatnot. So it's this invisible illness. And so sometimes we see people acting a certain way, and
that's one thing that all my friends get super mad at me about. My friend Dom always says that this is his favorite characteristic about me. If I see someone talking trash about another person, I'll be like, we don't know the full story.
There's usually always
because I was one of those people who people talked trash about, but they didn't know my full story. They didn't know what was going on with me. They didn't take the time to listen and understand.
And so this is our forever journey. And then
and I hope like anyone who has mental illness knows this is going to be your forever journey. It doesn't go away, but you know what? We're going to do this journey with you.
You can live with it. That's what we always say. You're living with depression. You're living with anxiety. You can successfully live with this, and
you may not be thriving, but you're living.
And you will eventually be thriving. You will
Eventually.
Let's give a little hope here.
Well, we have much positivity. We made it through this without crying.
Yeah.
Cheers to that.
We ain't gonna fight.
Aww. So, if you enjoyed our video, subscribe. Our Instagram will be down below. Go follow us. That will be our personal journey on mental health with both me and my mom's perspectives. Thank you so much for watching, and we love you all. Stay strong.
I gotta make it stop.
Brofist.